Hey guys, it's Lohpally here with another video, and today we're going to be talking about the best bot lane duos for you to be playing, especially in patch 12.12 and moving forward. So, without further ado, let's just jump right into it. We're going to start with our first one. These aren't in any particular order, just that they're all really great bot lane combos to play together, and you'll get a lot of potency. So, if you can grab a duo, or maybe you see your teammate hovering this character, these characters are going to go great with them.
Warning, warning, warning.
Let's first jump into our number one, which is going to be Lulu and Zeri. Now this can be substituted with Yuumi, but most of the time I think I prefer to play Lulu for a couple of reasons. Number one, Zeri, right? Zeri is a premium, really strong AD carry right now. Now that they've changed your crit, she can jump over walls, chase fights really well, and she scales super well into the late game now that she can build crit. The one weakness of this character, though, is that, well, she's short-ranged, right? And when you're a short-ranged AD carry, it's pretty easy for you to get killed. And this is why characters like Yuumi and Lulu really augment this character really, really well, because they have good laning phases that have shielding and healing, so you can protect them and get through that laning phase that's difficult in the early stages. But also, when you start grouping and team fighting, you get that extra movement speed for your Zeri. And Zeri loves as much movement speed as possible. It allows her to dodge skill shots, utilize her short range, go in and out over and over again, and make sure she's juggling that ultimate passive so that she can continuously chase people down, not have to worry too much about being all in short range, and still have all that potency as they're scaling forward. Plus, also on top of that, because you're enchanting them, you're usually going to go things like Shurelya's, especially on Lulu. So the Zeri character will just have infinite movement speed. It'll be really easy for them to chase down fights and have those long fights where she can jump over walls and isolate targets that are getting away from her. So, next is going to be kind of a classic, actually, which is going to be Lucian Nami. I'm sure a lot of people see this in pro play pretty frequently. Lucian is banned a decent amount of the time, but Lucian Nami comes in as one of the great bot lane pairings. Gives you tons of pressure in the early stages, and honestly, the trade patterns are very easy for you to do, especially in the early stages, since there's kind of a couple of interacting things going on. Number one is that the E from Nami procs off of hits, and since Lucian's passive when he uses spells is going to give him multiple auto attacks, this allows him to proc all three of these spells super easily. Plus, also, since he has a dash, he has the ability to activate these trades at any point in time really, really easily. On top of that, he gets bonus damage when he's being enchanted and buffed up, so because of all these things together, they work in tandem and create tons of pressure in the laning phase. This is a lane that can really snowball super easily and score a lot of kills in the early stages. On top of this, you can also go the Fabled Electrocute build and really power up the Lucian in terms of trading. Plus, on top of that, you have extra movement speed, so even though Lucian is a relatively short-range champion, it's really easy for him to catch and keep up with characters because you're slowing them down with your E, but also buffing up the movement speed from your teammate. It's also a great use of the best item on Nami, which is going to be the Mandate. So, we're getting that extra boost and front-loaded damage from Lucian that kind of lets him scale into the late game, even though he's a relatively early game-oriented champion. Plus, on top of this, you can also use the E on Lucian, and he can call people from really long distances, which allows you to actually have pick and engage functionality that normally isn't there in most cases. This is personally my favorite combination to play, just because I love playing Nami all the time, and these two pair really well together and have tons and tons of lane pressure, even though it's actually kind of easy to play the lane. So next is going to actually be one of the classic favorites, which is going to be Kalista Renata. Now, a lot of people always ask me, like, oh, why is it Kalista Renata? And it's kind of in the same respect of Thresh at the old times, right? You want to have some CC that sets you up, but also enough disengage and kiting that if, the Kalista gets jumped on or all in or there's CC on them, that they have ways to gain extra space. And Renata really comes in as this really great peel character that also can provide a lot of pressure. If you're hitting the Q and pulling people back, you have a lot of ways to kill people. Plus, on top of that, your E does a ton of damage in lane, which allows you to actually poke and, push people's HP down, especially with the durability change, to create a ton of pressure in the laning phase. Plus, I would say one of the biggest problems with Renata is that, she's relatively short-ranged. She puts herself in a lot of dangerous situations. That's why you kind of see the Guardian and the Locket pretty commonly built. And Callista covers this weakness really, really well, being able to pull her out whenever she wants. Plus, also, you can do great CC combos aggressively. Throw the Renata at somebody, then you can channel the ultimate, you can use your Q to push people together, or pull them back, or push them away. Like, you have a lot of tools and ways to augment power. And really, the greatest part is the W. The W, allows Callista to really play aggressively in the face of people, in those team fights, deep into the fights, trying to score kills, dashing on people, etc. And this gives her kind of like a pseudo reset mechanic where, okay, she's auto-attacking, she stacked up her Rens, she gets the W, she waits till she, hits the execute range, then she, boom, hits the Ren, kills the target, and now all of a sudden she has a ton of HP again, which a lot of AD carries actually can't do. They're front-loading as much damage as possible. A lot of their damage is pushed into their auto attacks, not into their, stacking controlled Ren debuff. So because of this, it just goes really well together. And this lane is one of the lanes that can really stomp a lot of matchups quite viciously, especially if you have like a good early level 1 and level 2. It gives you tons of control the entire time so that you can snowball through neutral objectives or just getting those plates. So next is going to come, not as really a surprise for all of you people playing with those Ezreals, right? Those dang Ezreals, you got an Ezreal on your team or, so what can we play really well with it? It comes in as Ezreal Karma. Ezreal Karma is going to be one of these great bot lane pairings. And the main reason is level 1. This lane is so insanely powerful at level 1. Mystic Shot, super short cooldown. Mantra Q sets up the Mystic Shot super well. And it allows you to poke at people a ton. And one of the greatest strengths of Karma covers the weakness of Ezreal super well, which is that Ezreal gets pushed in, right? Like, it's very difficult for him to fight for wave. If minions are in front of him, it's difficult for him to be poking. But guess what? Karma can spam her Q on wave, get that push going, and cover the weakness of Ezreal really well. And then this lane does so much poking. It's so potent in terms of being able to just push people's HP down and constantly harass them from long range. And honestly, it scales really well into the late game too, because if you're in good positions before neutral objectives, you can throw out a lot of Mantra Q spells with your Ezreal also poking too, and it just lets you control the pace of the game so well if you're doing really good, consistent poking in the early stages. Main weakness of this lane, though, is obviously it's a little bit weaker if you can't cheese, stand in a brush, Mantra Q. So make sure that when you're playing this combo, you're adamant about getting to that lane first. Not leashing as much as you possibly can. I know it's not always avoidable. So you can get the Mantra Q and the Mystic Shot together, and you can already have about a 200 or 300 HP lead just from 15 seconds into a laning phase. And now, the last one that we're going to cover, I have to say, this one's a little bit harder to pull off since you need a couple of things going on for it, but to be honest, when I've played it personally, I felt like it is the best when played well, which is going to be Senna Tahm Kench. Now, for those who don't really know, this one's a little bit different than the other dynamics, right? Usually you have the AD carry farming, the support, doing the support things. Now, this is kind of a role reversal, which is why it's a little bit harder for people to get on the same page for playing this, which is the Senna is actually going to be the one playing support and not farming, just trading, farming those souls. We get souls when minions die that you don't last it, etc. And Tahm Kench is actually going to be the farmer. Now, a lot of people are wondering, like, okay, that's kind of weird. What makes this a great combo? Now, it makes it a great combo because it really unlocks one of the best features of Senna, which is that she doesn't actually want to farm. She wants to be activating trades, getting souls, especially in the laning phase. Plus, she just gets more souls if she's not last hitting. And she's kind of a bad last hitter when it comes to a lot of things, too, because she just doesn't push waves very well. So this kind of activates it. Now, Tahm Kench and Senna go really well together because if either of them hit the slow, they can slow off of each other. So Tongue Lash is a really great effective slow, for the Senna to get auto attacks off, or, the Senna uses her Q and auto attacks off of that, and maybe you can Tongue Lash afterwards. So once again, kind of like a lot of akin to the Karma and Ezreal, you can trade at pretty good lengths range at level 1 very well. And then this lane, unlike a couple of other lanes, has insane all-in potential. Hit a Tongue Lash, then you can use your Abyssal Voyage, the W, and go in on them and once you knock them up, they're pretty much dead even if they're flashing, just because you have so many slows and so many ways to chase them down. And kind of this in the same light, you know, if your Senna is hitting her snares, then you can Abyssal Voyage off of that and then go on them. So not only do you have really good ranged poke and fighting, but you also have all in. It's so potent and so powerful because of this. And then kind of to just icing on the cake, they're really hard to kill. It's very hard to die in this lane, especially once you've got all three skills. The Senna can stealth both you and the Tahm Kench, and you can get away. Tahm Kench can W out of fights too. He doesn't always have to use it as an activation for fighting. Plus, the thick skin helps you deal with tons of problems that normally melee champions have, which is poke. And both of your characters will have sustain. And it also makes Tahm Kench impossible to all in. So you beat almost all of the melee all-ins too, because you just have more damage and your TK is tankier. So this kind of covers like the trifecta of, oh, it actually has poke, it has sustain, and it has all in. It's literally the three trifectas of it. But the main reason why you don't see it as frequently is, like I said before, you've got to have the adjustments of roles going on. So this one's a little bit harder to pull off, but man, if you can find a duo and start practicing together, this combo is my favorite of all of them, even though I'm a big Nami fan, actually. Plus, also, TK does really well with farm because he can build a plethora of different items that just make him super, super durable. And all of a sudden now, as a support that you're normally like staying really far back, now you can actually frontline because you have 2 to 3 items. So that makes it really, really great and kind of my favorite one, especially when I'm playing competitive. So yeah, that pretty much concludes all of the best bot lane combos, except for one more, which is going to be one that a lot of people might not like to hear about, which is Seraphine and Karma. Now this one's kind of risen up, especially after the Seraphine changes, to make this character quite potent. And the reason for that is that Seraphine got a lot of buffs, and now she can just kind of farm in most matchups really, really well, build damage or Moonstone if you want to, and then afterwards you can create a ton of pressure. Now Karma pairs really well with it just because of the fact that she shields and heals, but doesn't have a weak laning phase like Sona, which I'm sure that is the character that most comes to mind for most people, since that was the traditional duo combo. And the main reason why is, yeah, just Karma covers a lot of the early weaknesses of laning phase, being able to push, poke, and also she just has a lot of shielding and healing, just like Seraphine. So you can get to those team fights and actually do a lot of potency in that sense. So this lane is really, really easy if you have 2 enchanters playing bottom lane. And so that pretty much concludes our list of the best duo lanes to be played in this season of solo queue. So make sure to check it out. Tell me which ones that you're really enjoying or having as a favorite, or maybe you're not playing any of these combos at all and you should really rethink how you're doing draft. Thanks so much, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment in the section below and hit that bell and whistle. I'll see you next time. Peace.